How's it going this morning, everybody? Josh is waking up and doing the morning duties, as well as thinking about the morning thoughts. and I decided to make this video in response to a comment I got this morning. Um, it was on the video I made the other day about Jesus being, was Jesus a demon? Well, first off, that video was intended to be sarcastic. Um, it was intended to be more of a metaphor for the idea that we can never be sure if everything's an illusion, what's real and what's not. And anyway, I wanted to the question that he asked was, why do I argue, or why debate Christianity, because it seems like a fruitless endeavor. First off, I want to say I completely agree with that. To an extent, I guess not completely. Argument being taken two different ways. There's argument for the sake of argument, and then there's argument for the sake of resolution. People say, well, I've had discussions and it never seems to make any difference or go anywhere. My experience has been different. I've had discussions with a few Christians that have actually had them admit to me that it made them question their own thoughts. That's not my desire, that's not my goal, not to prove anyone wrong, but rather to have people question their own ideas because of how they affect those around them. So let me give you a little metaphor and an analogy for why I think that argument is important. Let's take a small town in medieval times, somewhere in the Middle East, a city of maybe a few hundred people, not a city, but a small town, village. And everything's going along as normal, and everyone's harvesting various crops. Some people have cattle, some people have, growing potatoes, whatever. Then along comes this guy. He comes back to town and says, I found these carrots growing up in the hillside, and they're great. They have great nutrients, they make me feel good. You get the point. So eventually he convinces a lot of other people to try these carrots, and they turn out to be wonderful. So then we have some people eating potatoes, some people eating carrots, some people eating a little bit of each. And then the carrot group gets so strong that all of a sudden they start telling others, hey, you should really eat carrots. And the person says, no, I'm actually, I don't really enjoy them very much. I'm happy with the foods that I'm eating right now because they keep me healthy. Then the person who eats the carrots says, but you're not healthy. You just think you're healthy. You'll only be healthy if you eat these carrots. Then all of a sudden, only eating carrots will keep you healthy. I know that was worded probably horribly, but the analogy that I'm trying to make here is that it's okay for one group to like something more than another, or to be partial. That's what being human is. But when it gets to the point where one group is telling the others that they're wrong, in other words saying that if you don't eat these carrots, you're going to perish and your health will suffer. And then they begin arguing, and then the person says, well, show me where this proof is about these carrots. So they bring out an old book that was written before carrots or foods or nutrients were understood. This is where the debate gets into why I think the debate and argument is important. It's not for the sake of trying to prove anything. It's not for the sake of trying to make Christians feel bad. Not in any way, shape, or form. I find that many Christians actually turn out to be some of the happiest people. And as well as I feel the same way about Islam. We hear about these terrorists and these horrible extremists in Islam. But if you actually go to the Middle East and you knock on the average door, they'll welcome you in with open arms. Their religion incorporates family, and it becomes very important to accept outsiders and to respect one another. When you knock on somebody's door in America, they just peek through their curtains. I'm not saying that all cultures are this way, and I'm not saying that religion is the basis for this. What I'm trying to say is that we can't use religion to say that people who are religious are this way or that way. I think that the atheist argument against Christianity is as futile as the Christian argument against atheism. It's all personal preference, potatoes and carrots. But it's very difficult when a person's trying to express that they have a certain feeling or emotion that ties them to God or to the ethereal, whatever you want to call this, higher energy. And for a person to tell them, no, you're mistaken, that you're being fooled, you're being lied to. And when the Christians will take it to the extent of telling me, like if I say, well, I found these same ideas in the Bhagavad Gita, and it's a better application for me personally, and they'll say, well, then you're fooled by the devil, that kind of stuff. That if you're not taking exactly my type of food, then you're wrong, completely wrong. So if non-Christians could live our lives without being affected by Christians, then there would be no need for argument. You don't see groups arguing whether the sky is blue or not. Although some people do argue whether the sky exists or not. But really, I mean, in society we don't generally argue things unless they're very complicated. So those complicated things need to be discussed if they're affecting those around us. I live in a nation of 80%, religious association. So I'm constantly immersed in it. So it's an obligation of mine to bring up these issues when I see them. And more often than not, even though it may seem that I made a few videos, harping on Christians, the reality is I bite my tongue most of the time because I get constantly bombarded with private messages, people telling me that I need to be saved, big long novels about how Allah is going to save me or Jesus is going to save me. And I kindly say no thank you, but that doesn't seem to suffice. So my point being that I'm not out pushing an argument. I'm merely defending my point of view against those who are trying to tear it apart because others are observing. It's not for my own benefit. It's for the observation of those around me who are wondering, who are maybe on the fence about what to believe or what to think. And if one person can observe that this person can be content and happy without a religious basis for it, it's very difficult for people to understand that. In other words, the old way of thinking is if you don't have religion, then you're just a sinner, just an outcast, a loser. And that's just not the way it is. We live in a very complicated world. So I just wanted to get that out there, that my intention is not to harp on Christians. My intention is to get both sides to think. And maybe one day somebody will give me some piece of evidence that shows me that believing Christianity is true or could be legitimate. Maybe Jesus will talk to me one day. I don't know. I'm open to anything. But as of yet, and this is why I made the video about Scripture, you can't argue religion without Scripture. And as Scripture is unreliable, written by the corrupted hands of man. In other words, if all these people are writing about Jesus in the Bible, then all of them would have to be Jesus or the Son of God. Otherwise, they're corrupted by the earthly... I hope you get my point of what I'm saying. This is the one hurdle that I can't seem to cross with people when I debate these things. Is it's one thing to say that Jesus was the Son of God. It's another to say that every author in the Bible interpreted all those things correctly. And there are too many people taking it far too literal. So this is why I debate these things. And I don't get angry at Christians anymore. I was much worse when I was younger. I mean, I would argue with anybody over religion. So, while it may seem like I'm poking at it, it's not at all. I actually mostly just distance myself from it. But good arguments do deserve to be shared, and I learned a lot from it, especially by asking, can it be argued without Scripture? And the answer I got from Christians was no, it can't. So I learned from that, and I guess that's what it's all about, learning experiences. Hope you all are doing well, and believe what you will. But argument's a natural part of the progress of all growth. I think. So, take care.